Andrew Jackson's our seventh President of the United States. His presidency came because of his popularity, not his skills. Just listen to a childhood friend's description of a young Andrew Jackson.
Ooh, that good old AJ, Andrew Jackson. Drew, as I knew him. I can remember him back in the good old days of Tennessee. He was a tough young guy. Always getting into something. He would often tell me stories of the days of living in those log cabin in that poor, awful conditions. I really respect that man. He went from absolutely nothing all the way up to being the President of the United States. After the Revolution, I wanted him to become an attorney, and he took a leadership role. I was so proud of Andrew when he represented the great state of Tennessee in the U.S. Congress.
Andrew was born 2 weeks after his father died. At age 14, he was orphaned and was a rambunctious child. In his youth, he fought for our independence and was captured. Our soon-to-be president was slashed by a sword after refusing to cooperate with the British. In the army, Jackson won the Battle of New Orleans with his men outnumbered 2-1. Later in life, Andrew taught himself to become a lawyer. By reading books, he passed the bar exam without even going to law school. Here is a Native American's point of view on Andrew Jackson.
Not only was General Jackson not satisfied with taking our land after that Battle of Horseshoe Bend, he had to slaughter our people in Florida. The chief of your so-called Supreme Court ordered that the state of Georgia give us back our land. As president, your Jackson refused to enforce this ruling. Instead, Jackson forced our 5 native tribes, totaling over 100,000 people, to move to some worthless land called Oklahoma. How long until Jackson and the rest of the white man force us off our land?
Mr. Jackson may have helped our country greatly, but he is still a villain. He owned over 140 slaves and made more land for plantations by clearing out over 100,000 Native Americans. The Trail of Tears made all Native Americans east of the Mississippi River move west to Oklahoma. All they were allowed to bring was the clothes on their back. "The only good Indian is a dead one," is a quote from Andrew Jackson. He also changed the ways of voting to give himself an advantage. This is Henry Clay's point of view on Andrew Jackson.
When I was asked to be Andrew Jackson's vice president, I was honored. We were both slave-owning gentlemen that could move America forward and defend slavery forever. Then in 1828, Congress passed and that president signed into law a high tariff that I like to refer to as the Tariff of Abominations. This law helps northern manufacturers and it hurts us southerners. It made goods that we buy from Europe more expensive. We South Carolinians tried to nullify this tariff, which I believe our state or any state had the right to do. President Jackson threatened to use the U.S. military to collect those taxes. Not wanting to start a civil war, I backed away from this nullification. However, I could no longer work with this bullet from Tennessee.
Andrew Jackson may have been a large part in American history, but he is still a villain in my opinion. He had a rough childhood like many kids in his time, but became a very powerful man. His time in Congress made him want to become more powerful so he could change what has been going on. Last, he caused over 100,000 Native Americans to suffer on the Trail of Tears. John Quincy Adams should have replaced him in presidency for many reasons, including that he actually had experience in the government. Here is his statement on our seventh president.
I never thought I would live to see a day where I, John Quincy Adams, of the famous Adams bloodline, would lose my presidency to an uneducated, non-elite orphan boy from South Carolina. He only won the election of 1828 because those southern and western states voted for him. In fact, he had to change the voting rules to allow more people to vote. When I was the sixth president, the wealthy had control. Now it's back to the hands of farmers, shopkeepers, and small businessmen.
We may never know where we would be without Andrew Jackson. It could be a good place or a bad place, but we all know he was a villain in his time of presidency. No other president ordered a massacre of so many people ever and never will again.